estranged from my sister since she had an affair with my ex-fiance. I found out because my brother caught the two of them together. She tried to get my blessing for them to be together. I told her to consider herself down one sister and I never wanted to see her again. I stuck to my word. She married, my ex had kids with him and is stuck by him through his destroying their finances. 3 years ago, he was arrested and my sister found out the guy letting her and the kids stay was no longer okay. So she called family members. My aunt told her my parents were out of town and she should go to their house. My parents were on vacation. My sister lives 3 states from our parents and I'm in the middle. She called her aunt to say she couldn't find a place she could afford overnight. So my aunt gave her my address and told her to stay with me. She showed up and I shut the door. She called her aunt called me. She told me the story. I refused to let them stay. Aunt said it was just for one night. I stuck to my word. Aunt ended up paying for a place for them to stay. My sister was there when my parents got home and nobody had told them. Then my saying no turned into a debate among the whole family. My siblings, the ones I still talk to, all said that I should never have been a place she would even dare to show up at. One of them also refused to let her stay overnight. So they weren't afraid to stand up for me. My parents said that they understand, they just hated that my sister's kids were upset and not having anywhere to go at night, and that the place they ended up at was scary. They told me they understood. They just wished I could have found some way to love her kids and give them a place to sleep. But they also know I never met them and were strangers to each other and to my husband and kids. Other family members are not seeing it that way. And I've been told that I should be ashamed of myself, that I'm hateful, and that they hope I need to beg her for something one day and she leaves me in the dust too. And my kids, according to my siblings, she's been saying how angry she is that I didn't give her kids a place to stay, and she's called me a heartless witch. Am I the idiot? Oh, no, your sister, who's such a stand-up person that she slept with your fiancé, thinks you're a bad person. Who cares what she thinks? Not the idiot, OP. Why is no one mentioning that the aunt is the real villain here? She's not only the idiot, but I almost wonder if legal action can be taken due to the hugely blatant privacy violation of giving her address to an estranged, not wanted ex-sister. Some relatives try to fix all the problems in a family, like as if the issues will disappear overnight. I would consider paying a distant family member to show up at aunt's house with kids who also have been suitably bribed to look pathetic and cry on cue. Telling her that you said she thought it was perfectly fine for people to drop in with the expectation of overnight housing without so much as a heads up that she'd be glad to let them stay. Your aunt is the idiot for volunteering at your home, especially knowing you were no contact with sister. I say block any flying monkeys. It's not their place to get involved if they want it anyway. They can share sister's no contact policy. I strongly suspect that Andy was trying to arrange a forced reconciliation between the sisters, your former sisters. Now seeing the consequences of her actions. How? Story 2. Your sister seems to make terrible choices all the time. Marrying your ex, leaving her home in a hurry, having 3 kids and no money to spend the night somewhere. None of this is your problem or responsibility. Her children may be innocent, but she's using them as a weapon against you. Don't ever let her lob those grenades into your life. My wife and I had our baby boy 5 weeks ago. Everything's going fine. No health problems or complications whatsoever. However, my wife is often exhausted, so I let my mom come over to help with cleaning and stuff. I barely have time to work, and also at the same time, spend time with the baby and bond with him a little bit. The thing is, my wife acts strange whenever she sees my mom with our son. She'd make a face and talk to her in a condescending tone, even raising her voice at her, causing mom to feel hurt. I asked my wife about it and she said it was because of what my mom was doing. I asked her to elaborate and she complains about mom holding the baby for a long time and taking forever to give him back to her. Mom argued that my wife could ask nicely instead of outright yelling. But my wife defended herself, saying that she only started raising her voice after asking a couple of times and that mom won't listen. They started arguing and mom started crying. That's when I felt enraged, pulled my wife aside and told her to stop acting out, and that if she kept us up, we wouldn't get any more help from my mom. She argued that she was trying to feed our son and that it was awful of me to think of it as acting out. I said I understood her frustration, and yes, mom can do things that require some patience from us, but a little kindness can go a long way in keeping the peace in this difficult time. She called me selfish and said that it's easy for me to say when I'm not the one, quote, dealing with this. From there, the argument escalated despite me trying to cut it short. Finally, I went outside to calm down, and after that, my wife started cold shouldering me. I told her this was not okay, but she told me to go screw myself, and that from now on out, I should deal with taking our son back from my mom when it's time for feeding. Since I condone this behavior, I'm not condoning anything and think she's stressed out. But the way she behaves around mom, in my opinion, is not okay. What is your mother doing to help you and your wife with cleaning and household management? If by helping you mean she's holding the baby while your wife takes care of all the household drudgery, that isn't helping. She's just having fun with the baby like a selfish idiot. Well, this doesn't surprise me since she's the one who raised a massive idiot for a son. OP. You need to start respecting your wife. Be enraged at your mom for making your wife upset. Pull your mom aside and talk to her about being the one who's acting out. OP should understand the baby's needs more since he's still breastfeeding himself. I'm trying to picture how I'd feel if I gave birth 5 weeks ago, had to ask multiple times for access to my own baby, and then my husband told me I was the problem. I wouldn't feel good about my marriage, that's for sure. Did you marry her just to get a grandbaby for your mom? It sounds like mom is not only doing the opposite of helping, she's preventing baby from eating while she does the opposite of helping. It seems like Opie's wife is breastfeeding from the post and Opie's mom is literally doing the worst thing ever to a new mom trying to build up a supply. Baby is just about to hit a major growth spurt. The milk supply needs to be kept up. Actually writing that out. It seems like OP's mom is sabotaging breastfeeding on purpose because she wants to be able to feed formula to the baby. Update. My goodness, I'm seeing so much anger here. I'm sorry I cannot respond to you all, but I just want people to calm down and understand that I in no way agree with some of my mom's behaviors. Just how my wife reacts is not okay. And that's all. Really. Thank you very much though. Story 3. My 27th female brother, Jake, fake name 25, transitioned from female to male 3 years ago. I wasn't completely supportive of him. I am getting married next year and I've been gathering my bridesmaid team. My twin sister will be my maid of honor and it was also important for me to have Jake with me at the altar. So I asked Jake if he would be my bridesmaid and be a part of my side of the wedding party. I didn't think it would be an issue, but Jake freaked out. Jake said he should be a groomsman for my fiance. After all, he doesn't want to be seen with my bridesmaids, all 3 of whom are girls, because people will just think he was a girl. He accused me of asking him to be a bridesmaid because I still thought of him as a girl, which isn't true. I explained that it didn't make sense for him to stand by my fiance because they've only met a handful of times and my fiance already has the budget approved a number of groomsmen. And besides, Jake is my brother and I want him to stand by me and support me during the wedding. Plus, before Jake transitioned, I had always planned to include him in my wedding. So why should his ginger change anything about that? I see his argument that it might make him feel dysphoric. But having bridesmen is becoming a common tradition. Besides, he has a beard and he'd be wearing a suit. So there's no way anyone would think he was a girl, Jake. And I fought back and forth for a while and I finally snapped and told him he couldn't be in the wedding at all if he didn't want to stand by my side. He called me an idiot and it made me feel awful. I needed to vent about it to strangers. So am I the idiot at it? He's still invited to the wedding as a guest. I just told him he couldn't be in the wedding party if he's not a bridesmaid, not the idiot. You aren't telling him he has to restrict how he dresses or making him dress like a gender. He isn't. He can be the bridesman, the man he is. I always think it's weird when people stand on the opposite person's side to keep gender separated. He's a bridesman. He's your bro. But if you're from an area, that's super weird. I can get where he's coming from. Yeah, he's from your side of the family and isn't close with your fiancé. If he wants an active role in the wedding, he has to compromise. Otherwise, he'll be the ring bearer. Story 4. I've seen some amazing adult ring bearers and flower men. Hopefully he doesn't take offense if offered the position. He may feel offended as an adult. You are the idiot. It will make him feel dysphoric. He can be there loving and supporting you on your big day without being the only man in a group of girls. If making him do so will make him feel like his gender identity is being disrespected. I completely understand why that would make him feel self-conscious and why he would prefer to be a part of the male group. Exactly. He told you that being on the women's side would make him feel dysphoric and you instantly dismissed his feelings and told him that if he wouldn't stand where you wanted him to, you would remove him from the wedding party. I get that you don't think it's a big deal, but you are presumably a cis woman who's never experienced significant and long-term gender dysphoria. I'm currently in high school and I live with my dad and brother. My mom's not in the picture anymore. Well, I'm not very close with my father. He's not a bad dad. He's just a little old-fashioned. So he's closer to my brother. They have the same hobbies, etc. Onto the problem. I don't know how it started. But for the past couple of months, my dad and my brother will start teasing me about that time of the month. Anytime I get remotely irritated or upset at them. For example, my brother ate a snack of mine that I was saving and when I got mad, he just joked, "Oh, no, is it that time again?" in a super annoying voice. I kept trying to tell them separately and together that it's annoying and offensive. I feel like they're minimizing how I feel about things I had valid reasons for being annoyed about. Instead, they just brush it off even more and chalk it up to my period no matter what time of the month it is. Well, yesterday, we had dinner with my whole family on my dad's side for my aunt's birthday. Before dinner, I got into a huge fight with my brother because he broke my iPad and instead of apologizing, he just said the whole time of the month thing. I admit that I was pretty angry when we got to my grandma's house. My cousin asked me what was wrong during dinner and before I could explain, my brother interrupted with, "Oh, it's just lady problems." I usually ignore him or hold things, but I had had enough and started bawling. I admit that I kind of went ham on purpose to cause a scene which freaked my whole family out. My aunt asked my dad why I was so upset and when he didn't know, I told my aunt, "It's just lady reasons." According to dad and brother, my aunt and grandma were very angry with my dad and brother and they totally got reamed at the dinner table. It was a whole thing and I could tell they were super embarrassed. but I said that I was acting the way they always say I do. So, I guess I didn't have to do it during dinner, but it wasn't like I planned it. Not the idiot, but, you caught them on their misogynistic BS. They were disrespecting you and using weapons that are hard for a young woman to battle against. They should never have done this to you. You are right for what you did for. You were pushed to the end of your rope and you didn't know what else to do. I get that. They're not blaming her feelings on her, period. They're letting her know they don't care about her feelings, boundaries, or personal belongings because she's female P. It doesn't matter what time of the month it is, your feelings are always valid. Don't let them convince you otherwise. If they're embarrassed about people finding out how they treat you, they shouldn't treat you that way. You should tell them that if they call you an idiot. Again, many years ago, I remarked to my wife about a female coworker who was particularly irritable that day. Unfortunately, I associated it with that day of the month. Similarly disrespectfully, as you describe it here as a result, my wife unscrewed my head and screwed it back on the right way. I painfully remember this after literally several decades because it was so embarrassing already back then. However, I knew that I and nobody else was responsible for the embarrassment. Lesson learned. Perhaps your father and brother should develop a little humility. Story 5. I, a 32 female, will be getting married next year. We discussed our wedding plans over dinner. When my mom asked about the dress, it's not going to be an extravagant wedding, but I would like to wear a nice dress. This is probably the only time I'll get to wear something formal, and you'll see why my mom asked me when I was going to start dress shopping. I hate to say this, but I blurted it out. Who says you're going with me? I love my mom, but she's controlling. Being an immigrant with no concept of American culture is another thing in high school. I wanted to attend prom with my friends, but my mom and I argued over what I would wear. I wanted a fancy sparkling dress like what my friends were getting, and she wanted me to wear one of her dresses. This outdated black dress from the 80s looked terrible on me, like I cried when I put it on. I didn't want to wear it. We fought over it, ending with me not being allowed to go since I wasn't allowed to have a job at the time. I couldn't come up with the money myself to pay for my dress or a ticket. I still resent her for this, as there are several things from high school. I was either barred from doing sports, marching band, senior trip French class, or I got forced into doing and hated scholarship clubs. Chinese class, best buddies. There was some back and forth. But in the end, I made my point clear. I was still mad at her for making me miss out on a huge milestone over something as stupid as a dress. I want to be able to pick something I want to wear without her input or have her to try to get me to wear other outdated horror. That is her wedding dress to save money. I'm digging my heels into this point. But my dad called an hour ago saying that I hurt her feelings. I'm sure I heard crying on the other end of the line. So maybe I took it too far this time. I need an outside opinion. On the one hand, I don't want her to control this second chance I have. But on the other hand, I did make her cry. Am I the idiot? Oh boo, who her feelings are hurt. Well, now she knows how it feels to miss a major milestone, and of course, she's never apologized or made it up to you, but she's the victim. LOL, not the idiot. Your mom has proven she isn't to be trusted with an event of this nature. Her tears are her own responsibility, not yours. Please don't fall for it. Tell your dad, what about my feelings, that she had no problem hurting repeatedly. You are right to set this boundary, and she has to learn to respect it the hard way. And if she refuses to understand and threatens not to come, don't yield. Also, don't forget to tell her she'll be the one looking stupid because she chose this dumb hill to die on. It's your wedding, not hers. And if she can't be happy for you and has to make things about herself, then it's her loss. Everyone's the idiot here. I can see why your mother's upset, but I can also see why you don't trust her in this. You and she have a lot to talk about. I guess she thinks you should let this go because it was 15 years ago and shouldn't be important anymore for you. On the other hand, it's still an open wound that hurts. It appears you two have a way to go before getting past this.